Not very quick at all. After a while, I'm sure it'll lean on. Yeah. Right now, I'd take any of the three Georgia has over him any day of the week. I'd love to have you element just now. Chubb, Sonny Michelle, whatever that freak early is. That's
no, Henry.
huh? Derrick Henry? Ocean.
Sure. Yeah.
Ocean. Like a defense. Playing running back. Really not. Oh, I'm sure if you had to hit him the whole time, you'd get tired, but I bet you he'll get tired too. You're 250 pounds.
He eat fast.
Oh, I'm sure I'll eat my words and he'll win at that turn high. I'll pick it.
Yeah.
Did you? What was that? Was it? Yeah. It is. Yeah. We're there now. We got food Saturday. Don't come on. My understanding is we got food at 2:30. I think. They said we had a grand plan, location and everything. Oh, come on if you want to come on. This what you're taking with you, or we just throw this away? Better like. Table anyway. Lighting is 10 million. Call us in already?
Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Sports Call. Andy Graham and Randy Lee here with you for the next 2 hours, taking your phone calls and discussing everything relevant in the world of Auburn athletics. That will go around the SEC, and we might even talk about sports going on around the world. How do we want to do the breaks? Just go to, yeah.
Visit exotic destinations, Alaska, Europe, Hawaii, and more on a land trip or cruise. Contact Ruta Lisa Anderson at Cruise Planners today. Why do the planning when it can be done for you? Visit exclusivecruiseplanners.com or call 844-722-6342.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Tuesday edition of Sports Call here on 93.9 The Tiger, whether you're tuning us in there or via the web at sportscallauburn.com. I am Andy Graham alongside my partner Randy Lee. We'll be with you for the next 2 hours, taking your phone calls at 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll-free or locally at 334-887-3401. As Randy said, Sports Call brought to you by Always Money. Always Money offers title loans, cash advance loans, Western Union services, and they buy your gold. Visit one of their many convenient locations or visit them on the web at alwaysmoney.com. Always Money. Easy, convenient, friendly, and fast. You can also check us out on our Facebook page, or you can just send us a tweet at SportsCallAU. We'll be taking your predictions today and throughout the rest of this week for Auburn and San Jose State, the tiebreaker being Rock Thomas rushing yards. We expect him to probably get to play a little bit in that game, so that's the tiebreaker. If you've got a prediction for that game, you can go ahead and get one in today or anytime later on this week. Randy, it was obviously a good weekend for the Auburn Tigers as they defeat the Arkansas Razorbacks 45-21 in the opening set for the college football season here on this last Saturday there in Jordan-Hare Stadium. It was a brutally hot day. I was there. I made it through pregame, and about 4 minutes left to go in the first quarter, and I had to go underneath. It was they were carrying people out in stretchers, and it was just a brutally hot day. But I think overall, Auburn has to be satisfied with what they saw. But just
Johnson throwing the football around, and who wouldn't be impressed? Along the end, we've had some players that have come into Auburn and had high expectations and didn't really do what we thought, and they didn't pan out to be what we thought they would. But Duke Williams, first impressions of him were off the chart. So I've got to say, when you add Duke Williams to the rest of that receiving core, I cannot remember in my lifetime when a receiving core is as strong and as deep as Auburn has currently right now, and that's saying a lot with what we've got offensively, especially there in the backfield. Let's quickly go to the phone lines. I think Mike in Opelika, you're on Sports Call. Actually, it's Bobby in Opelika, you're on Sports Call.
Yeah, that was quite a show Saturday, I tell you. The only ones I remember that might come close to this receiving corps is we had a Roma Shadu and the other one, I can't remember the name now, but Obamanu. That was an outstanding receiving corps. But these guys we got here now, they are big bodies, a lot bigger than those two. But it's an outstanding receiving corps.
It definitely is. Melvin Ray also. I didn't mention him in the early going, but he looked as big and as athletic as the other two.
He sure did, and that's something we hadn't had in a long, long time. And Bob was impressed. I was pretty much satisfied. I was just a little disappointed at our linebacker play because they wasn't filling the gaps first half, and they were over pursuing. And I thought we were vanilla on both sides of the ball pretty much Saturday, and we didn't show a whole lot. I don't think we really needed to, because once we got Arkansas out of their game plan, it was one and done. So, but anyway, what I'm calling for too is there another radio network that carries the Auburn games other than the IMG? Because that little old cheap radio you buy for $20, I bought mine 2 years ago, and you have to have it reprogrammed every year. They charge you $10 to reprogram it, and that's ridiculous. And the radio is not worth $5. But is there another network that carries the game other than the IMG network?
I'm not sure. You just mean like a regular radio broadcast? Yeah, I think 92.3 carries it.
92.3?
Yes, sir. I believe so.
Okay, and what about 94.3?
I'm not sure. I will endeavor to find that out.
Because I love to listen to the broadcast of Rod, but I wasn't able to listen to it because it had that little old IMG radio they sell, call it the sports radio. And I advise people, don't buy that radio. It's not worth what you pay for it, especially when they want to reprogram it. It's not worth it. So I advise people not to buy that radio. So I was proud of Auburn. It was a hot, humid day, but if we had lost, it might have made it worse, but we didn't. And I'm looking forward to the year. We've got a tough schedule ahead, and I like the way Coach Malzahn does. We're taking it one game at a time.
Oh, Bobby, do you want to go ahead and make a prediction on Auburn and San Jose State?
I may as well. I'm going to say 49-10.
And the tiebreaker is Rock Thomas rushing yards.
Rock Thomas, 77.
77, Bobby, we appreciate your phone call, buddy, and we'll try to pull up those radio stations that carry the game and pass it along later on in the program, okay?
I certainly appreciate it.
Thank you. 888-9-TIGER-9, 334-887-3401. Thanks for hanging in there with us in the first segment. I must say, my fault there. Sometimes you've got to go ahead and fess up, but we'll be here with you for the next hour and 40 minutes. And
I shall not cast stones.
Don't cast stones. I get plenty of them cast my way anyway, but I'd like your initial reaction. First of all, what was your reaction in the first half watching Jeremy Johnson play?
Well, I thought about that. We had a conversation several weeks ago, and I said my biggest fear was that Jeremy Johnson would look so good, coming out of the game he would be on fire, and it would create a perception or it would create some doubt in people's mind who the starter ought to be. And he didn't come out and look good in the first half. He looked great. He was 8 for 8 for almost 200 yards. He ends up 12 of 16 for I think 243 and 2 touchdowns. When he drops back and throws it, Randy, it's a thing of beauty. He can sling the football, and
he's graceful doing it too.
Everything's a frozen rope, and that was I was just extremely impressed with him. But I'm gonna and you've mentioned this several times, and I wondered. I thought we'll see Jeremy Johnson in the third quarter. The game's tied. He looked tremendous, and then they just put Nick Marshall in the game, and a wave of calm came over me. I just watched Nick Marshall play, and I think, yeah, this is the guy that needs to be starting. I love Jeremy Johnson. I think he's going to be great. He could not hardly have played any better. But there's something about Nick being in the game and the way that he runs a read option. It's just it looks like Auburn. I don't know how to really explain it, but I just felt so comfortable with Nick in the game.
Well, it looks like Auburn from last year. And when you want us to look like Auburn and Gus Malzahn now, that's what you're wanting to point back to. And Nick Marshall, he does. There's some calming effect that he brings over the team. And, look, he didn't make the first tackle on Saturday, but as soon as he was in the football game, the defense rose up. Everybody seems to be in place. I love watching Jeremy Johnson, one of the first 2 or 3 guys that met Nick Marshall on the field after he ran the opening drive into the end zone where he had the rushing touchdown there on that opening drive of the second half. He was one of the first ones to meet him, and it's a great team chemistry. Look, we may not make it back to the national championship this year. I hope we do. I know we're right there in the thick of things, but I can't remember where I've been any more happy to be an Auburn fan. There have been a few moments where I can say, yeah, we look pretty good, but right now, the way that this offense, we scored 45 Saturday.
Could have scored 60, easy.
And every time we came off the field and didn't score a touchdown, you could just tell it in Gus Malzahn's face. He was upset. He was disappointed in either we missed a block on a third down conversion play and someone from the backside makes the tackle. It was the little nitpicky things like that that kept us from scoring even more. The kicking game was outstanding. That was a question mark going in. Daniel Carlson, there's no question mark there now to me.
You know why he won the punting duties? My goodness. It was like a howitzer, that first one, 59 yards in the air. Like you said, Melvin Ray, one-handed catch, just unbelievable. The receiving core looks outstanding. Cameron Artis Payne. We're going to. Trey Mason's a great running back, but it's hard to argue with 177 yards in your debut. You feel really good about him back there. You feel really good about Corey Grant back there. Like you said, only 67 yards rushing in the first half, but we really didn't commit to it because we were throwing the ball so well.
Part of the thing I was going to bring up today, Jeremy Johnson, I think he's got the wheels to at least keep you honest running the football. And I think Gus Malzahn, I didn't hear his interview or his press conference today, but I think that he spoke about that Jeremy Johnson could do just about anything that any of the other quarterbacks can running the football. Maybe we'll see that down the line, but I'm with you, Nick Marshall. I'm just happy with him back there at quarterback. I love Jeremy Johnson. Been watching him since he was a sophomore in high school at Carver. Was thrilled to death to know that he was coming to Auburn, and I have touted him as hot and heavy as anyone out there. But I'm a Nick Marshall guy. He really does bring a sense of calm to the entire team. Let's go back to the phone lines. Jeff in Auburn, you're on Sports Call.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking the call. Maybe I'm wrong on this, but did I see Nick Marshall line up as a wide receiver?
Yes, you did, because Quan Bray was back there at the Wildcat, and just one of those different variations that you'll see out of Gus Malzahn's offense.
Well, I tell you what, a defensive coordinator on the other side's got to love that, doesn't he?
Well, true, and I heard someone, and I guess that it's kind of funny to talk about it, but could you imagine he and Jeremy Johnson in the ball game at the same time with Nick Marshall having the option of being the running back also? Because his speed and the way he runs with the football is more like a running back than anything.
Yeah, who are you going to cover?
A very good point.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. We appreciate the phone call. 888-9-TIGER-9, 334-887-3401.
Going to go ahead and take a break. We're kind of on a different schedule here, but we're going to take a break, come back for another short segment, and then we're going to welcome in Jason Caldwell from inside the Auburn Tigers to get his perspective on what took place Saturday. So join us again on the other side of this break. Sports Call is brought to you by Always Money. back, everyone, to the Tuesday edition of Sports Call. Andy and Randy here with you, taking you up to 6 o'clock on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. A lot of good things, happened in that first game, a lot of positives that we took out of it, but there were some negatives as well. You look at it, and the Auburn defense, which is the real Auburn defense? Was it the one in the first half? Was it the one in the second half? Obviously, probably somewhere in between. You give up 151 rushing yards in the first half, only 2 in the second. That is pretty stunning, the difference. 21 points in the first half, 0 points in the second half. Obviously Auburn made some great adjustments at halftime, but I think it was just a matter of, I don't know, what was the difference in your opinion?
To me, I thought we made tackles, and we made tackles when we had the opportunity. And Robinson Thurese was the biggest difference maker to me in the second half of play. We did bring him up to the line of scrimmage. He was able to make some plays in the backfield, caused that interception, which was by far the game changer in my opinion. Whitehead picks it off, takes it down the left sideline into the end zone, and Thurese made the play. Got right up in the grill of the quarterback, and an errant throw, and exactly what you were looking for on that, because Auburn had really been sputtering at that point. We've had some good moments throughout the half, but then also looked like we fumbled the football, turned the football over, and Arkansas has some of the momentum going their way also. So I really thought like that was the play of the game for Auburn. Let's go back to the phone lines quickly. Anthony in Auburn, you're on Sports Call.
Hey, guys. How's it going today?
Good. How about you?
Doing good. I can't agree more with your offensive points from the last segment. I did want to kind of talk about what we're talking about now, the defensive side. The biggest, I agree with you, Andy, on the fact that I think we're somewhere in between from the first half, second half performance. I noticed 2 people, like you just said, Thurese. I also noticed, 24. I always forget his name. Derek Moncrief. I think he had an impact coming in and taking over for the injured. I think it's Jonathan Ford. I get him, Jonathan Ford, and Jonathan Jones mixed up. But I believe Derek Moncrief had a big impact, too, as far as in the run game. But did you notice we were having issues, and we've had issues before on defense doing this, is picking up who we are covering in regards to the tight end or running back out of the backfield. Did y'all notice the same thing?
Yeah, it did look like we had a lot of communication breakdown, especially in the secondary, especially in the first half. You saw the tight end catch 2 touchdown passes because of that. And some of that is the first game. Some of it is you would hope they would have been having those things a little bit better worked out coming into the first game. But something to work on, definitely. I did notice that.
And, I love Justin Garrett, but big but there. I think you cannot keep Thurese off the field. If they've got to find a way to get both of them on the field, but Thurese just brings a whole nother dynamic. One, the playmaking ability. He had forced fumble. He had the big hand and the interception. Every big play we had on defense, it seemed like 27 was somewhere involved with it. And I just noticed Justin Garrett, and he wasn't the only one in the first half. There were a lot of people in the front 7 getting pushed around. But did y'all notice the same thing about Thurese or Garrett?
I think Thurese is a playmaker, was all year last year. He's one of those tweeners when it comes to size, weighs, 210, but plays that star position, but makes plays out there. Look, I'm with you. Anything that it takes to get him on the field. I think Garrett can fill in at just about any linebacker position. Looks like a big enough player to, especially when a team's wanting to pass the football, would have his opportunities. One player that I thought got some playing time, but I look forward to seeing a lot more this Saturday is Trey Williams, the true freshman. Looked the part while he was out there, looked motivated while he was out there. We didn't see a lot of him. I expect this Saturday you'll see a lot of Trey Williams and Rock Thomas, the 2 biggest recruits I think we had in this past recruiting class.
I did notice Trey Williams running around, and he looked good running around doing it. I can tell you that. He didn't look like he was out of place being a true freshman. I got one other comment or question. I'm going to hang up and let y'all listen or comment on it. But if we need a pass rush, I think we know that. But if we can see one young guy come in and give them a shot, who would you pick in order, a young guy to get some pass rush on the defensive line? Thanks, guys. You do a great job.
Well, the guy that made the biggest noise was Rashid Kenyon, in the fall camp coming up. Now he's only 230 pounds. That's the rub. Now it would have to be in third down situations. I don't think you can put him out there, in regular game type situations on first and second down. But if you just have a speed guy off the end, I think he's the guy that they would probably look to do that. I know they would love to see Elijah Daniels step up and take more of a role, on the defensive end. Ladarius Owens is obviously, coming back from that leg infection that he had, but I thought he played pretty well, better as the game went along. So.
And they all did, Andy.
Yeah.
I thought Gabe Wright did. Montravius Adams looked quick on his feet, looked very physical on the middle of that line. But in the first half, we were all scratching our heads saying, and you could hear the announcer saying, we expected Auburn to be bigger and stronger and more physical on the defensive front. And we all did as well, but it looked pretty tough there in the first half. I think a lot of that has to do with Arkansas, to me. They're very physical up front, and they've got some tremendous running backs. Now, we beat them by 24, so I don't know what that says about Arkansas and how many more wins they have, but I was impressed with Arkansas in the first half. I was impressed especially with their size physically. That big left tackle was, 6'10"?
He looked
6'10", 321, and he was
that Skipper.
Yeah, Skipper, and he was taking it to us there in the first half. Maybe they wore down a little bit in the second half. I think you did see that, but what was your take on Arkansas?
Well, when I sat down, at halftime, I was just thinking after watching that first half unfold that we were getting manhandled at the line of scrimmage. But you go back and watch the replay of it the next day, that really wasn't the case. We were not getting blown off the ball. That was not the problem. They were running some different blocking schemes that we had not seen before. It seemed like every play we had two guys on the defensive line that would break through and would be out of the play. And they were running this delayed handoff, and they would just let our aggressiveness work against us. So I saw Angelo Blackson run himself out of the play 4 or 5 times in the first half, and which would create an enormous gaping hole that would lead to the cutback for the Arkansas running backs. So I think we made some big adjustments at the half, and it all worked out. It all worked out pretty well, as far as giving up 2 rushing yards in the second half. So we're going to go ahead and take a break here, but when we come back, we're going to get back on schedule and welcome in Jason Caldwell from inside the Auburn Tigers. More Sports Call on the way right after this.
Convenience stores are prepared to help you on your dash home. Whether you need to grab a gallon of milk, bread, drinks, or some cash from the ATM, TK's is there for you. At TK's Convenience Stores, we work hard to carry those items that you need to grab quickly, and we pride ourselves on high-quality gasoline and clean stores. So don't stress about your evening. Slow down and stop at one of TK's 14 locations to grab what you need. TK's Convenience Stores, always there when you need us.
How long can you hold a plank? September 10th through 13th, Fitness Together challenges you to plank for a purpose. For every second you hold a plank, you'll donate 10 cents to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Fitness Together will also make a sizable contribution. Members and non-members, practice your planks for free at Fitness Together now through September 10th. Sign up for Auburn's inaugural Out of the Darkness Walk on September 14th. Join the challenge. In shape, out of shape, young, old. Every second counts for this cause. Find out more at fitnesstogether.com/Auburn.
This segment of Sports Call is brought to you by Resource Natural Spring Water. Resource is 100% natural spring water with naturally occurring electrolytes that support a lifestyle of well-being. When you need to refresh, revitalize, and replenish, it's always Resource Natural Spring Water.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Tuesday edition of Sports Call. Andy Graham here with you for another hour and 20 minutes, taking your phone calls at 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll-free or locally at 334-887-3401. We'll pick up your phone calls in the next segment, but right now we're going to welcome in our good friend Jason Caldwell from inside the Auburn Tigers. Hey, Jason, how's it going today?
Doing good, Andy. How about you?
Doing pretty well. Auburn gets a big opening win against an SEC opponent, racks up 595 yards of total offense. Defense seemed a little shaky in the first half, but came out and put on a very dominating performance in the second half. Just your initial impressions from game one.
Yeah, I think it was obviously kind of a tale of two halves, for both the offense and the defense. Offensively, you come out throwing the ball, and it was kind of be expected, with Jeremy Johnson coming out. You're probably going to throw it a little bit more, but really in the second half, Auburn kind of established the dominance that they were looking for in the running game. Nick Marshall obviously has a lot to do with that, but I think the offensive line gelled a little bit together too, and it all came together really offensively, and the same's true defensively. Arkansas came out, did some a couple of different things early on, and I think once the defense settled in the second half, they really played well. Give up 2 yards rushing to Arkansas in a half. I mean, that's about as strong as it gets. So overall, I think it was a really solid first performance when you look at all things considered for Auburn, and especially against an SEC opponent.
Jeremy Johnson comes out just really on fire, 8 of 8. He looked great in the first half. It is, I think, well proven now that he can throw the ball as good as pretty much anybody in college football, it would seem. But, with Nick Marshall, and Randy and I talked about this in the opening segments, when Nick Marshall is in the game, it just, I don't know, it's something about his demeanor, the way he runs the read option. It just seems to bring a calm over not only the team but the fan base as well. And there's certainly no quarterback controversy at Auburn.
No, I mean, Nick's the guy. Like I said, it's just a little bit different for him. He's an older guy. He's a more veteran guy, and I think that has a lot to do with it too. But he's got it's been in the fire. He's been there, and his teammates have seen him, and he's a guy that like Jeremy, and I think Jeremy, the more he plays, the more you're gonna see that out of him too. A guy that was a basketball guy, was used to being in the center of attention, and I think those things lend credence to guys being really good quarterbacks, guys that have been through it. They understand about handling adversity, because in basketball games you get runs at you all the time. So I think that's a big part of things. But Nick just has kind of that it factor, and you can see it on the field. Opponents try to deal with him, try to handle that offense in a different way, but he just seems to find a way to make the right play, and those are things that you can't teach sometimes.
Well, as we've talked about, the Auburn defense looked just completely different from one half to the other. They just completely dominated Arkansas in the second half, giving up hardly any total yards, really. I think about 60 total yards and no points. What did Ellis Johnson have to say about, what are the adjustments that they made? How did this incredible turnaround take place?
I think a lot of it was really just the fact that he kind of challenged them at halftime. They needed to be a little tougher, a little more physical, and I think that was a lot of it. But the adjustments for them started late in the first half when they talked about to the defensive linemen about not getting so far upfield. They were kind of running themselves out of plays at times of that trap and running into it. So basically, kind of adjusted and like, okay, when you feel like somebody's letting you there for a reason, they just kind of stopped in the holes. And when they did, the running lanes kind of shored up a little bit. They didn't have anywhere to go. So I thought that was the big adjustment. Those guys got after it in the second half, and guys were running to the football, making plays. So I really think for them it was a huge building block. And, it's still just the second year of the defense. And so they got a chance to kind of work some of those kinks out in the first half and really came on board in that second half.
Well, DeQuil Williams had about as good a debut as you could possibly have. I don't think there's any question that he is the real deal, and he is going to be a force this season. Just talk about his development since he's been at Auburn, and just what kind of kid he is. The chance that you've chances that you've had to sit down and talk with him.
Yeah, DeQuil's a guy that I had a chance to watch and see him play last year in junior college, and kind of getting a sense of how big of a competitor he was. I thought that he's a guy that would really step up when called upon to play on this level. And he exceeded my expectations in game one. I knew he was going to be a force for this team, but sometimes it's different, trying to find the knack for playing that inside slot receiver position. And he's got it. He understands coverages. He understands when to sit down and make himself a target. And, he's just a tough matchup when you look at whether you put a linebacker on him or safety. He's too fast for a linebacker, too big for a safety. So it's a real challenge for the defense. And then you throw in Sammy Coates outside and, obviously Ricardo Lewis, Quan Ray, but then, there comes Melvin Ray becoming a big play threat too. This is an offense that's loaded with skill position players, and I really believe that when these guys start coming together a little bit more, I just don't know what a defense is going to do to stop Auburn if they execute the offense.
Cameron Artis-Payne, another guy that stepped up, 177 yards in his debut as really the lead guy in the backfield. Of course, Corey Grant had a great game too. I think 87 yards for him just on 10 carries. The backfield, obviously, Trey Mason is a loss. There's no doubt about that. But I thought Cameron Artis-Payne played extremely well. Do you think that he put a lot of pressure on himself to come in and take this role and to make Auburn really forget about Trey Mason?
Yeah, he's been fighting for this job since he signed out of junior college at Allen Hancock, junior college out in California. I mean, this has been his goal to be the number one guy, and he's still fighting for that. He's been hungry. He's lost some weight since last year. He's gotten quicker, and I think more explosive because of that. He ran through a lot of tackles and did some good things, Saturday in that game. But Corey Grant's got more physical. I think he's shown that he can be a consistent runner between the tackles as well. So you got two good options there. Got to see a little bit of Peyton Barber. He looked good, and then I think you'll get to see Rock Thomas on probably this Saturday as well. So running back position's in pretty good shape, and you look at that offense across the board now, and it's hard to imagine one that has more potential weapons than this one does.
Well, just bring us up to date if you have any information. Did Auburn come away from this game pretty much injury-free?
Yeah, I think pretty healthy. You obviously get your dings and bruises from a first game because you're not used to it. But I think overall, everybody's in pretty good shape going in, and that's really good news for Auburn when you talk about you got San Jose State this weekend, and then you got an off week, so you get a chance to recuperate a little bit more. So I think this team it feels pretty good about where they stand after game one. Get a chance to kind of let it go here in game two and recuperate, get ready for a tough Thursday night.
A lot of prospects in this weekend to take in this game. One that was not there, Martez Ivy, I believe he got a little injured in his high school game. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, we hadn't heard any updates on him, but I think they're going to kind of check out his knee and see how everything is with him. But, Martez is a guy that obviously a lot to like about Auburn. I think for him, even though he wasn't able to make it last weekend, that'll be a trip that I think he'll make, sometime down the road. But I just have to see, what kind of impact that injury is going to have on his season, whether it requires surgery, those things. I haven't found that out yet. And, we might probably find something out later this week.
Well, the first week of football season, and Bruce Pearl lands yet another 4-star recruit. Now I think he's just showing off. Do you know anything about New Williams?
Yeah, a really talented athlete, a guy that can play point guard, can be a 2-guard, really explosive before his injury, had an ACL injury, kid out of California. And since that time, he talked to Mark Murphy inside the Auburn Tigers, and he told Mark that he's more explosive. That he added 5 or 6 inches to his vertical leap, and I'd heard that he had really been impressive in some of his workouts, and just getting stronger and stronger. I think Auburn could have gotten a real steal in Nate Williams, and just adds to what's already an impressive class that Bruce Pearl and his staff are putting together. Should be a lot of fun to watch these guys in the coming years.
Well, Jason, before we let you go, just bring us up to date on everything that's going on right now inside the Auburn Tigers.
Yeah, it's kind of the busy time once again, getting ready for Game 2. Got a lot of still looking back a little bit at Arkansas now, moving forward, looking ahead to San Jose State. So we'll have previews of the Spartans coming up. What to watch for, a digest with Coach Pat Dye. Stat Tiger looks at the SEC, so a lot of stuff to yet to come here in this week leading up to Saturday's game.
Well, Jason, we really can't thank you enough for being on with us on Sports Call this afternoon. We appreciate everything that you do there. You do a great job at Inside the Auburn Tigers, and we look forward to talking with you next week.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much. Randy, just a lot of good information there. From Jason Caldwell, he does a great job. All those guys that cover Auburn do a good job. You can go on, whatever site you feel like you like. There's always somebody there, that does a great job. They're always putting out information that I do go on Inside the Auburn Tigers quite a bit, and he and Mark Murphy both do a really wonderful job.
We like to say we talk sports, we don't report sports, and those guys, they really bring the news to us. So once we hear it or once we take in what we see on Saturday, we just kind of splurt it out up here on our programs. But we'd love to hear from you, 888-9-TIGER-9, 334-887-3401. Got about 6 or 7 minutes here in the first hour. Again, thanks for tuning in to Sports Call this afternoon. Had a lot of phone calls here in the early going. Our question of the day, and I want to throw this out in a couple of different ways, brought to you by Lee Marketing Group. Andy's got it here. What game this weekend surprised you the most? And I'll throw that around. Which team disappointed you the most this first weekend?
It had to be UCLA to me.
You think so?
Absolutely. South Carolina was disappointing, but UCLA's number 7 in the country. They had so much promise coming in. They got a senior quarterback that's supposed to be an NFL. An NFL-type quarterback within Hundley, and they go out to Virginia, who was just dreadful last year, and need 3 defensive touchdowns to win 28-20. I thought that I thought UCLA to me was really the most surprising game. That game in general, I guess, surprised me the most. What about you?
It's South Carolina. I did expect. I think I said this up here this past week. Could you see Texas A&M? The more that I got closer to it, I kept thinking Kevin Sumlin is a much better coach than we give him credit for. And then to see what he did this past Thursday night was shocking, to say the least. And it brought everybody in the West. I guess if your strength of schedule was a worry, now it's not. When you add Texas A&M to the mix, and when I look at the top 10, that was another question of the day that we potentially could have had today. And who's your 4 now? Look, because you've seen them play. Everybody has been on the field. You can kind of weigh what you see with the new players or the true freshmen like a Leonard Fournette that LSU has touted for several years now, but now they're touting him as the next Herschel Walker and Bo Jackson.
He didn't look like Bo or Herschel
He had 18.
Saturday.
He had 18 yards, and Kenny Hilliard did look like a very good back there in the backfield. So, but is LSU, are they out of the hunt? Alabama, week 1. If you watch them play, do you still have them ranked number 2? I know I'm going to get a lot of response on that from the Auburn Nation out there because I already have around the water cooler today. That's been the talk. How in the world does Alabama retain that number 2 ranking? So, look, who would you have in the top 4? Maybe that's a good question of the day because that also goes hand in hand with who disappointed you the most. South Carolina wouldn't be there.
No.
We do know that. West Virginia, are they better than we expected them to be? Or not? Florida State. Is Oklahoma State not getting any respect? They did have 10 wins last year. And Florida State, or are they down a little bit, Andy? I mean, there's a lot to talk about with week 1.
It is. Yeah, I think it's still too early to tell. You need a little bit more information. You need a few more games to really decide some of those things. If you just, and this is just for speculation, you coming out of who looked the best, in week 1. Is it the best 4 teams that we're talking about? That's what they keep saying. We want the best 4 teams in the playoffs. Well, the 3 of the 4 best teams look like Auburn, Texas A&M, and Georgia. Does that mean there's going to be 3 SEC teams in the football playoff? No, I would strongly bet against that. But those 3 teams look like 3 of the best teams in the country. Like you mentioned earlier, you look at the backfield for Georgia right now, and if Hudson Mason can be just serviceable, they can play any amount of defense. That running game is going to be really difficult to stop if they can stay healthy. The other, Oregon, we'll find out a lot more about Oregon. We'll find out a lot more about Michigan State this weekend as those 2 teams play. Michigan State travels out to Oregon. We'll find out a lot more about USC and Stanford. They play this week. So I think, I know it's, our business now to, throw out these things and make gut reactions and jump way too far ahead. But I think we'll learn a whole lot more. Not a lot of great games this week. Notre Dame and Michigan, I think, play. But give it about 3 or 4 weeks, and I think we'll know a lot more about these teams. But right now, you cannot argue with what Texas A&M did. You can't argue with what Auburn did, and you certainly can't argue with what Georgia did.
According to ESPN Football, their power index, the top 5 teams in FBS got Florida State there at 1, Oregon at 2, Auburn at 3, Alabama at 4, and USC at 5. So USC has impressed a lot of folks. Oregon's still impressing a lot. Until Oregon gets over the hump, I'm not leaving them up there. So you still got Auburn there at 3, Alabama at 4. I'm questioning at least 3 of those 5. I know I'm an Auburn fan sitting up here, but, I'm questioning Oregon. I don't know about that. We'll see. Florida State didn't look great. No, Florida State didn't look great. Alabama, of course, didn't look great. We all know that. And USC, are they going to make that big a jump with Lane Kiffin gone? And I'm just now bringing up Lane Kiffin. But I've said it on this program 50 times in the last 4 or 5 months. The soap opera that was on that sideline Saturday, This is too good. This is too good for Auburn fans. I don't know if it ends up like this. Yes, Alabama had a lot of yards, but Lane Kiffin and Nick Saban on the sideline and their interaction with one another, it's priceless. I had a feeling it would be this way, but Lane Kiffin is one of those guys. He is. Am I wrong? Is he one of the most unlikable characters in college football? At least he comes off that way to me.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Yeah, he's always been, and he's earned that reputation. Okay, look, if you're in a situation where you make Al Davis look like the reasonable party, you've got a problem, and he did that. He made Al Davis look like he was the reasonable partner in that marriage. So he has brought everything that he has got on himself. There's no doubt about that.
When you look at these 5, though, top 5 teams in FBS currently by the ESPN Football Power Index, Florida State, Oregon, Auburn, Alabama, and USC. Who's not in that 5 that you think should be there?
Let me ponder that, and I'll tell you.
That's
on
enough,
the other side of
that's our 10th question of the day out there. Call in on any of them.
1-888-9-TIGER-9, toll free, 334-887-3401. More Sports Call on the way right after this.
This segment of Sports Call is brought to you by Reinhardt Prattville, located on Cobb's Ford Road, 334-290-1992. 20 years. Visit us online at ReinhardtPrattville.com. Sports Call. Call in now at 887-3401 locally or 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll free. And now, coming to you live from the loveliest village on the plains, Sports Call. This segment of Sports Call is brought to you by Reinhardt Prattville, located on Cobb's Ford Road, 334-290-1992. Visit us online at ReinhardtPrattville.com. Reinhardt Prattville. We sell to sell again.
Hello, everyone, and good Tuesday afternoon. Welcome back to Sports Call. Andy Graham here and Randy Lee taking you up to 6 o'clock, taking your phone calls at 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll-free or locally at 334-887-3401. Check us out on our Facebook page or just send us a tweet at SportsCallAU. We're taking your predictions today and throughout the rest of this week. Auburn versus San Jose State, our tiebreaker. Rock Thomas rushing yards. We're expecting to see a lot of him on Saturday. Hopefully the Tigers will have a big lead, and there is nobody more thankful than me that game will be at 6 o'clock because it was brutal Saturday, and those poor old ladies that I saw even taken out fainting in the aisles, man, it was a rough day. But I was hoping for the rain, but it didn't come until too late in the day. But certainly don't like the lightning, the hour-long delay. It was kind of a weird game overall, with everything that happened. It was brutally hot. Then an hour-long delay, and then they come back, and it's pouring down rain, just sheets of rain. So, but Auburn beats Arkansas 45-21, a great debut for Jeremy Johnson, a great debut for DeQuil Williams, a great debut for Auburn overall. They actually move up one spot in the AP poll to number 5, and that was the discussion that we were talking about at the end of the first hour, Randy. The top 5 teams in the power rankings now are read those off for me one more time. Yeah, this is ESPN. The Football Power Index is what they call it. Florida State is number 1, Oregon 2, Auburn 3, Alabama 4, USC 5. Who do you like that's in that 5? Who do you not like? And who do you really think should be considered? And I know it's early in the season, but at least we got a game to go off of. Texas A&M jumps up 13 spots in the AP poll to number 8? Did I see that right? I think they just switched places with South Carolina, the one that I saw. South Carolina went from 9 to 21, and Texas A&M went from 21 to 9. So. Look, Texas A&M scares me to know that we've got them on the schedule. And how many teams, I was noticing this on the AP, and again, we'd love to hear from you, 888-9-TIGER-9. How many of the top 10 run the hurry-up? No. Did you notice that? There are at least 7 of the 10 run the hurry-up. And offenses, if you take anything away from week 1 to me in college football, at least the friends of mine that I'm hanging out with and talking to about, how much further ahead the offense is than the defense, Andy? Because these offenses, when you look at Gus Malzahn, we got to do something wrong. We got to shoot ourselves in the foot and not score. I know I'm getting I'm getting a little excited, but truthful, even in the national championship game against Florida State, we got to overthrow a receiver by 15 yards not to score. Whereas this grind-out offense that Alabama and LSU play, maybe they end up there at the end. We'll see. But to me, Texas A&M got to do something wrong. And you're going to be lucky to hold them 3 or 4 different times, like we had the game with them last year. Johnny Manziel goes out a couple of possessions. They don't score. We take advantage of it, and we score just about every time we have the ball in the second half, and that was the difference in the ball game. I'm just thrilled that we're running that type of offense now. Yes, me and you both. And I think you see the success that was West Virginia had against Alabama, throwing the ball for 365 yards. Now, they didn't run it. They couldn't run it at all. I think they had 28 yards rushing, but, they're in the game. And down there with a chance to score late and just snap the ball over the quarterback's head. If West Virginia doesn't shoot themselves in the foot, if they don't get some pretty questionable penalties, that kept Alabama drives going. That game could have been West Virginia could have won that game. That's what's so That's what's so strange. Maybe that's the most surprising thing to me, that actually West Virginia literally could have won the game against Alabama. I think Alabama's a better team, but West Virginia was in that game. And like you said, we keep talking about the hurry up, the fast pace, the no huddle, whatever you want to, however you want to determine it or call it. That being Nick Saban's Achilles heel. That theory just seems to get further and further down the line, and every time you see it happen, it becomes a little bit more true, I guess.
When you look down the top 10 nationally, AP poll second week, Florida State 1, Alabama 2, Oregon 3, Oklahoma 4, Auburn 5, Georgia 6, Michigan State 7, Ohio State 8, Texas A&M 9, Baylor 10. Let's count them off, and the offenses that scare you the most. First off, Florida State scares you because they probably got the best quarterback in the country with Jameis Winston. More of a pro-style offense, so I give them a pass. Look, I'm an Auburn fan. Alabama's offense, from what I saw Saturday, I'm glad that's theirs and not mine. Oregon, that's a hurry-up, no-huddle, and that's just about where it started. This team has been there in the top 10, but physically, whenever they match up with an SEC team for a championship, or they match up with a Stanford, they can't get over the hump. So they're sitting there at 3. Oklahoma, up-tempo as you can ever get. Auburn sitting there at up-tempo. Georgia runs that more of a pro-style offense.
They were running up-tempo Saturday.
Yeah, they're trying to get the ball in the hands of their playmaker as often as possible. Michigan State, no. Ohio State, yes. A&M, yes. Baylor, yes. So a majority of your top 10 are the teams that are running that hurry up, no huddle, as fast to the line, as many plays as possible. I think South Carolina, Texas A&M had 99 plays against South Carolina last Thursday night. The offense is scary. Now, the offense is so much further ahead than the defense. Andy, do you think we've seen this before? You saw it with the wishbone. You've seen it with the spread it out Houston Oilers offense, the fun and gun, I think it was called. June Jones also did it with the Atlanta Falcons. Do you see any end in sight with this hurry-up, no-huddle?
No. Right now, I mean, you look at Chip Kelly in the NFL employing it there as well, and you see more and more people taking notice of that, more and more people, more and more coaches coming to him for advice and looking at what the Philadelphia Eagles are doing. I don't think it's a coincidence that you see so many, obviously it has taken over high school football. And now you recruit kids and they already know the system. They're already familiar with it. They understand, the concepts of it. So they come into college and they're ready to play as true freshmen. And then now they're going to the NFL as redshirt sophomores or juniors. And I just think that this is where college football is going. This is there is no turning back at this point.
Our very own Brett Pritchard says that Michigan State should be in that top 5. The beauty of the scheduling, and I've got to commend Oregon and Michigan State for getting on the field with one another. You're going to know on the field which one of those teams and which style works out best for those. Oregon has struggled physically up front. They want to do the hurry-up, no huddle. They want to run the football, but they can't run the football on a very physical SEC team. Michigan State is an SEC-style team, plays outstanding defense. That's going to be an outstanding game. We're looking forward to that Saturday. 888-9 Tiger 9 334-887-3401. I mentioned it in the final segment of the first hour. I've got to mention it again here because it is one of the key stories to me. I'm hoping there's a lot of Auburn fans that feel the same way that I do, Andy. But how much of the Alabama game did you watch?
I didn't get to see any of it because I was at the Auburn game, but I watched the replay of the first half and saw enough of the second half to understand and get a sense of what was taking place. The fact that you would see Saban creep over every 5 seconds and say something, and you could hear him. I mean, and it wasn't necessarily, he would say something to him right to his face, and then you could see him talking to him. He would say something on the earphones, and you would hear, and you would just see or read Lane Kiffin's mouth, and he'd say, "Yeah, okay, I got it." And it was just it was so funny that they said, Nick Saban had said he's not going to interfere with the offense. He's like, and he was every play. He was saying something, and that's just going to get really, really old for Lane Kiffin, and it's going to get really, really fun and funny for everybody else.
Where did I miss that Kiffin was not going to be in the box? Have we already did we already
Nick
know
Saban
that?
wanted him on the field.
Oh, me.
Again.
Let him stay down there, please, because that is where the soap opera begins.
Right.
Is Lane Kiffin holding that play sheet, whatever you call it, and writing it down, sharpieing down whatever notes that he takes, having that old visor on and looking as confused and upset about which play he's going to call next, and then his antics whenever – I mean, they ran a flag pattern on a 3rd and 11. And the ball was overthrown by about 5 or 6 yards. And his antics on the sideline on Blake Sims' pass going awry was priceless. And, look, I'm expecting this. I don't know if it's going to have – they've got too much talent for it to be a Tony Franklin situation for them. But we had our Tony Franklin. I'm wishing theirs on them with this. So that's where I see this, though. I do see that. I can't see this working out. I really can't.
No, we've said that for a while, and I just said it was I think it was a mistake, and I think there's a reason that everybody kind of looked at this so strangely and chuckled at it, and you had Auburn fans calling our show saying how funny and how great they thought it was that they hired Lane Kiffin.
Let's go back to the phone lines. Jerry in Auburn, you're on Sports Call.
Hello.
Yeah, Jerry, you're on the line.
Hey, how you guys doing today? Thanks for taking my call. I had a quick question, and I'm just tuning in. Y'all may have already covered this. If you have, I apologize. But as far as Justin Garrett and Threezy go, I mean, Threezy, when he played Saturday, of course, had an immediate impact. Was he in the star position?
He was in the star position, but they were moving him around, and, the big play that I think the play of the game, moving him to the center of the defensive line and allowing him to blitz the quarterback and get up in his face and have that throw awry, which ended up being a Whitehead touchdown. He seems to have a nose for making those type of plays just about every game.
Absolutely. I was just curious if there was a way, because Garrett played well also, in my opinion. If there's a way we could get them both on the field more often, I'll hang up and listen, and I enjoy your show.
Jerry, thanks so much for the phone call. In the first hour, we said Justin Garrett, I think, could fill in at the linebacker post. To me, looks the body style, and he did make some nice plays out there and tackle. But Threezy has to be on the field. You can't take him off, in my opinion.
He just has a nose for the football. He's one of those players that's going to find it no matter where he is and no matter what position he's going to play. Auburn did run, a few sets where they run what they call the Cinco package, which is a 3-3-5 alignment, and I suppose you could get Garrett and him on the field at the same time in that situation. It'll be interesting to see now that he's eligible, because they weren't thinking that he was going to be available. So now it just gives you more and more options of what to do.
Well, it depends on what the offense is throwing out there. In the second half, you saw more of the defensive tackle, defensive ends, I'll call it, for Auburn. If you're going to run that three-man front against some other defenses like that 3-3-5 that you'll see, if you're playing a team like a Texas A&M that wants to throw the football around, he does give you some options out there in pass coverage that some others don't. So I like the idea that at least Garrett's back. We need him. He definitely needs to be on the field. I think this defense will find ways. Ellis Johnson has proven that he can go into halftime and come back out with at least a plan and a change that throws you off guard. And the second half, look, I was amazed. If you'd have told me that all they'd had was about 70 yards of offense and 2 yards rushing in the second half, I'd have told you you're crazy.
You never would have believed it. 1-889-TIGER-9, 334-887-3401. Give us a call. Let us know what your assessment was of Auburn and Arkansas.
Got a couple of phone calls on the line. If you'll hold on, we'll get you on the other side of this break.
We're going to go ahead and take a break here, but don't go anywhere. More Sports Call on the way, presented by Auburn Urgent Care.
This segment of Sports Call is brought to you by Carl Gregory, Auburn, Opelika, and Columbus. Looking for a new Jeep, Ram, Dodge, or Chrysler model or a certified pre-owned vehicle? You're in luck. Visit your locally owned dealer for great prices on every make and model. Carl Gregory, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. 2 giant locations, Victory Drive or the North Lake Auto Complex in Columbus.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Tuesday edition of Sports Call. Andy and Randy here with you until 6 o'clock, taking your phone calls at 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll-free or locally at 334-887-3401. Sports Call today brought to you by Auburn Urgent Care. Auburn Urgent Care offers convenient solutions for your health care and occupational medicine needs, including workman's compensation, injury care, and certified DOT medical examinations. With locations on South College and in Tigertown, visit them online at auburnurgentcare.com. Let's go right back to the phone line.
Paul in Montgomery, you're on Sports Call.
I just got a question for you real quick.
Okay.
Who was the ball boy that was keeping up with Ricardo Lewis on the touchdown run?
I don't know, but it is all over the internet. It's a social media buzz, but whoever he was looked like an athlete, didn't he?
Listen, I'm going to tell you something. If Auburn's ball boys are that fast, man, we can have an awesome team.
We definitely can.
They take this Auburn Fast slogan seriously.
I appreciate you taking the call.
All right, thank you so much, Paul. And as you call in out there, I should have stopped Paul, but if you want to give us a prediction on the game this weekend, go ahead and throw it in there. Rushing yards for Rock Thomas, who we expect to see extended time for Auburn, will be the tiebreaker. 888-9-TIGER-9, 334-887-3401. Back to the phone lines. Terry in Montgomery, you're on Sports Call.
Good afternoon. Thank you for taking the call.
Thanks for the call.
Yes, sir. With the Alabama situation, it came out one day last week in the Montgomery Advertiser that Coach Saban, when he was an assistant coach, he always wanted a coordinator. He always wanted to be in the press box. He's always let his coordinators be in the press box. Coach Kiffin wants to be in the press box. And Coach Saban's statement was, well, we don't have a true starter at quarterback, and everybody on offense relates real well with Coach Kiffin, and I need him down on the field to greet these players and build them up when they come off the field. And I told my wife, I said, now, if you want to buy that, I got a little beachfront property around Nashville that I want to see. Because the reason he wants him on the sideline is so he can reel his butt in. Now, the game proved exactly what I said.
It definitely did. It was fun to watch. That's the reason I didn't hear and I didn't know that he would be down there with that play sheet, with that big old play sheet that he always has, that he's looking down on and he's studying so intently that when I did see him on the sideline, it was just perfect. It was priceless. I hope he stays down there, Terry.
Well, he wasn't looking down studying that play sheet. He was looking down thinking, what is Coach Saban going to say to me next? Now, that was a distraction. I have a photograph of when Coach Dye was an assistant at Alabama under Coach Bryant, and there's thousands of these pictures. And they were down here right at Union Springs where it was, and they were quail hunting. And Coach Dye and Coach Bryant was walking together. And the picture clearly shows, I don't know what Coach Bryant was saying, but Coach Dye wasn't worried about no bird hunting. He was analyzing every word that come out of Coach Bryant's mouth.
Well, I've seen some of those, and there's some great ones. And, hey, we appreciate your phone call. You got a prediction for us for the game this weekend?
I'm going to say with y'all, Auburn keeping the foot to the metal, I'm going to say probably 48-14.
And how many rushing yards for Rock Thomas?
For who?
Rock Thomas, the freshman running back.
Rock Thomas?
Yes, Rock Thomas.
It depends on how much he plays, but I'm gonna say 110 yards.
110 yards. Terry, we appreciate your phone call, buddy.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. 888-9-TIGER-9, 334-887-3401. Back to the phone lines. David in Salem, you're on Sports Call.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. How you doing?
Good. How about you?
Doing well. Thanks for taking my call. I just wanted to hit a couple of points real quick. I know going back to the South Carolina game is kind of old hat, but it was the beginning of the weekend, but everybody's talking about how, that was the biggest surprise of the weekend. And it looked to me, honestly, like they didn't have any film on anyone other than a Manziel offense, because that 3-4 looked like it was completely schemed for Johnny Football, and they got Danny Werfel instead, an assistant quarterback that put the ball exactly where it was supposed to be when it was supposed to be there, and gave Steve-O a huge dose of his own medicine in that sense of the word. I just want to see what you guys thought about that.
Dave,
what happened as far as South Carolina's concerned.
David, honestly, I thought when I'm watching that game that Johnny Manziel owes a lot of that money that he's about to make to Kevin Sumlin. That was the first thing going through my mind because now Kenny Hill is right there at the top, and Kenny Hill was I think he was a good talent coming out of high school, and his father, if you know, was a great pitcher in the Rangers organization, so he's got a pedigree there. But I didn't expect to see what we saw, 500-plus yards. And now, is it more the system or the player?
Well, it looked like to me Kenny Hill, 3/4 of his throws were, at least probably a fourth of them were behind the line of scrimmage, and then about 3/4 of them were no more than 10 yards downfield. Now, he did throw some pretty crossing patterns later on in the game, but I think the system that Kevin Sumlin employs, hurry up, but it helps that you've got tremendous receivers that are open on every single play. The routes that they run, that system that he has got going right now. If you're a quarterback, you want to play in that kind of system because, quite frankly, it looked easy for Kenny Hill. But that meant they had a lot to do with South Carolina as well. But I don't think they asked him to do even a lot. It was just very short, simple throws that he made, and it was tremendously successful.
Absolutely. That's just what I was thinking watching it. I appreciate the insight. It didn't really dawn on me that those passes, that many of them were that short. They just all seemed to be in exactly the right place at the right time to the right guy. And that was an impressive thing to see. I'll throw a prediction out there and let you guys continue. I'm going to go 52-10 with a buck or two for Rockton.
All right, David. Thanks so much for the phone call.
Thanks a lot, War Eagle.
War Eagle to you. And quickly, we'll go back. We know we're going over a couple of minutes back there in the studio, but John and Millbrook, you're on Sports Call.
Thanks for taking my phone call. I just wanted to give a shout-out to Sean Coleman, first career start, going up against preseason All-SEC defensive end, and did an admirable, fantastic job of defending him and not preventing any sacks. And matter of fact, the whole offensive line as a whole did a fantastic job. And I just want to commend that group and especially Sean. And my prediction is Auburn 54-13 and Rock about 74 yards rushing.
Okay,
and I'd like to take y'all's thoughts on the offensive line, and then Sean Coleman. Bye.
Thanks so much, John. We appreciate the phone call. We haven't talked enough about that. It's as good a story as there is in college football this year.
Yeah, and I think one of the best things that you always come away from a game, I didn't hear Sean Coleman's name one time, and that means he did his job. Like he said, he didn't give up any sacks, no penalties. I thought the offensive line played great, as far as the moving around that they did. People just say, well, Chat's Lee moved from one side to the other, big deal. And it is a big deal. Avery Young goes from guard to tackle. From tackle to guard. It is a big deal. And I thought they played very well. They gave up one sack, but overall, I thought it was great.
2 new running backs back there in the backfield. I know getting the majority of the carries. Cameron Artis-Payne goes for 177. Corey Grant goes for 87 yards. What more can you ask for? This is not playing, I hate to say it, but this is not playing a defensive unit or a team that's not physical or a team that has no chance of beating you. Look, going into that game at Arkansas, especially in the first half, I was like, this is Arkansas. we always struggle with Arkansas. Was that not kind of the feeling you had at halftime?
Last year, Auburn gained 366 yards against this team. This year we're getting 595. That's a big difference. Yeah, I think now some of that is Auburn's at home. Some of it is that Auburn didn't play quite as well last year. Some of it is that Jeremy Johnson threw the ball all over the place. So it was just a great game, I think, overall. But again, Auburn's got a lot of mistakes to correct. They got a lot of work to do, and there's no doubt that they're efforting to do that this week as we speak. 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll free, locally at 334-887-3401. Give us a call. Let us know what's on your mind. What was your assessment of Auburn and Arkansas? What game surprised you the most? And who is in the power, the top 5 right now that doesn't belong? We've got quite a few questions out there. If you'd like to respond to any of them, just give us a call and let us know. You can make a prediction on the upcoming game this week, Auburn and San Jose State. We're going to go ahead and take a break, but there's more Sports Call on the way, presented by Auburn Urgent Care. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tuesday edition of Sports Call. Andy and Randy here with you for about 25 more minutes, taking your phone calls at 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll-free or locally at 334-887-3401. Randy, a lot of other games going on in the SEC this past week. A lot of other games going on that interest us outside. We were talking about that UAB-Troy game. That one may have been the most surprising if you're just kind of from around here, because every time it seemed like UAB would be favored in anything, they would always choke. But UAB just comes out and destroys Troy, runs for 328 yards. I think this has a lot to do with the head coach.
It definitely does, and I said it when Bill Clark was hired. UAB, Troy, these schools need someone that understands recruiting and the high schools in the state of Alabama. Neil Callaway, the rest of that crew, they're going to jump up there and get the suburbs of Atlanta and feel like you've got to go and recruit those areas. You get what you deserve. But the beauty of Bill Clark is he takes the exact same players that were set there last year outside of a few that he picks up later on, and he goes and demolishes Troy. And Troy's only got 71 yards rushing, 48-10. Here's the biggest question I got. What in the world has happened to Troy and Southern Miss? Because Southern Miss got drummed. They finally get on the field with Mississippi State. They'll give them a game. I don't think Southern Miss wants to play them anymore.
No, I don't think so. Southern Miss went from 12-2 in 2011 to 0-12 in 2012.
They got Ellis Johnston.
And they have never been the same. I'm not sure what. I don't even know who the coach is now. I don't know who replaced Johnson, but they're not doing a great job. Now, UAB goes to Mississippi State this weekend, so that ought to be a little interesting. Mississippi State didn't have any trouble. Dak Prescott looked pretty good. He had 4 touchdowns, had a pick, but he ran the ball, not very much. He threw the ball okay, 260-something yards, but it'll be very interesting. Let's see how good UAB really is.
Yeah, Mississippi State 49-0 over Southern Miss. Southern Miss only 283 total yards. Mississippi State 550. Dak Prescott, that 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Goes on ahead and starts the season like we expected him. Let's start with Alabama and West Virginia. West Virginia rolls up 365 yards passing in this no-huddle hurry-up with Trickett back there at the gun for West Virginia. I didn't see this one coming. Alabama gets away with a victory, 33-23, but your initial take from that game?
Well, I think Alabama needs to. I think they have some things they have to shore up. They're definitely. This is probably the worst debut that Alabama has had. There was several years ago they had a pretty close game with Virginia Tech there in Atlanta, I believe, but the statistics were not even close. They really dominated the game overall. Here, 393 to 538. That's not as close as it might be, but West Virginia throwing like they did Clint Trickett is not a Heisman candidate. Alabama's secondary has got some holes in it, and I don't know. It seemed like West Virginia had some self-induced, issues that they could not seem to overcome. They got down there close. They snapped the ball over the quarterback's head. They lost a possession, missed a field goal at least one. I think West Virginia is a decent team, but I don't want to hear anybody say, hey, this West Virginia team's a lot better than we thought. They're going to beat some people. They're not going to. They're going to be 6-6 or 7-5 or whatever that. They're not a great team. Alabama they've got some work to do. There's no question about it. They got some good running backs. They got a good offensive line. They've got some really talented receivers, but do they have anybody that can throw the ball to them? Blake Sims came out and looked serviceable, but does he look like a national championship quarterback?
I don't think so, but I didn't think so coming into the season, and nothing I saw on Saturday makes me change my thoughts from all the spring practices and mop-up duties that I've seen with Blake Sims over the last 3 or 4 years. You Bama fans, y'all can throw out there that there was a missed pass by Christian Jones that could have added, and he could have almost had 300 yards in passing, but no touchdowns, 1 interception on the night. He was average at best to be an Alabama quarterback.
I know that every Alabama fan that I talked to, I said, how did y'all look? And the same word kept coming up, terrible. So, you take that for what you will.
888-9 Tiger 9 334-887-3401. You can call in, get us your prediction in for Auburn, San Jose State. Rock Thomas rushing yards will be the tiebreaker. Georgia, much like Auburn, close game in the first half, runaway in the second half, and the key word there is run. These guys have got backs. They got about three. I think they have 3 NFL caliber backs back there in the backfield, and I'm taking Keith Marshall out of the mix. Those 2 freshmen and Gurley are as good as we're going to see.
Yeah, Nick Chubb had a very impressive debut. I think we knew how good, Todd Gurley is. I didn't realize he was back there returning kickoffs as well. I do now. But he is a very good he's a Heisman candidate. If he stays healthy, he's going to end up with probably 1,500-plus yards and a ton of touchdowns. And he's just a great-looking running back. He's so physical. And when he gets in the open field, you're just not going to catch him.
I guess the one stat that you can take away from this Georgia-Clemson game is only 131 yards passing. Hudson Mason, 18 of 26 for that $131, no touchdowns. I'm not even sure I call him serviceable. I'm really. I mean, if you can man up and you can put the people in the box to stop this rushing attack for Georgia, I don't know how many people can stop it. But look, that even with Auburn last year running the way that we did, you did feel at times that if we needed to throw the football, we had the playmakers out there and the quarterback that could spread it around the field. I don't know if I leave with this Georgia game like this. I do like Georgia as much as I did at the start of the season, and I thought they'd come out of the East. I still think that they're right there in the thick of things, but, look, every game I look for is how's Auburn match up with them. That's the one thing I point to is their passing game is about what you figured.
Yeah, I think one of their leading receivers was suspended for this game, Scott Wesley, I think. Of course, Michael Mitchell's already hurt again. Michael Bennett is their leading receiver, their go-to guy. But you got to have something more than that. Mason, he had some pretty impressive games. I think he threw, for about 300 yards against Georgia Tech last year. But like you said, if you go up against a really good defense, and I'm not even sure Clemson is a good defense, 131 yards, you're probably going to need more than that down the stretch.
888-9 Tiger 9 334-887-3401. Your thoughts on LSU, Wisconsin?
I thought if Wisconsin could throw the ball at all, they'd have won going away.
Well, they couldn't. They had 50 yards passing, and that is the point.
They got a safety playing quarterback.
Yeah, but LSU, 9 of 21. Anthony Jennings, he did have 239 yards and 2 touchdowns. The parts of the game that I watched with Anthony Jennings back there, he's not too much either.
No, the only reason he's got that many yards, he scrambled twice and threw it up and made a beautiful throw. It's like he's one of those guys that, every 5th throw that he makes is going to be beautiful, right on the money, and go for big yardage. But the 4 throws between there, it's going to be a struggle, I think, if he's your starter for the whole season, because that running game was not that. Kenny Hilliard had a good game, but LSU did not look like LSU running power football. I'm not sure. I think Wisconsin's a good team, but I don't know. LSU, they got some growing pains I think they're going to have to go through.
888-9 Tiger 9. Jameis Winston, 25 of 40 for 370 yards, a touchdown, and 2 INTs as Florida State sneaks by Oklahoma State's what I'll call it. Had a big turnover there to close out the football game. I'm not sure they stopped them in that to close it out, but only 106 yards rushing for Florida State is the stat that I point to there. They look beatable. And most of the last year, they never looked beatable until Auburn had them down 20-3, and we were all in amazement there at the Rose Bowl. This team looks beatable just off the hoof.
They do. Oklahoma State got the ball back with I think down 3 with a chance to go down and win late in the 4th quarter. And the first play of the game, you get intentional grounding. You start out, 2nd down and 20. They don't get it. They don't get the first down. They roll the punt back to the guy, and he has to scramble and punts at about 20 yards. And Florida State gets a field goal out of it. They don't even go. They can't go down and put the game away. Oklahoma State has another chance. They get they run the kickoff back to about midfield, fumble the ball first play. If Oklahoma State, again, if they'd had any kind of gumption, if they had any kind of wherewithal, they would have won that game.
And the 2 teams, maybe, I know we're up against a break, but the 2 teams that disappointed me the most, if I were fans of the programs, which I'm not, UCLA and Ohio State.
No doubt, UCLA. Like I said, Brett Hundley, he's supposed to be an NFL-type quarterback. He's a senior. I don't know quite. Maybe Virginia has improved extremely, well, a lot this year. That still remains to be seen. But you need 3 defensive touchdowns to beat Virginia. That's pretty sad right now because this Virginia team last year was absolutely no good. Randy and I will be back with you for one final segment on the Tuesday edition of Sports Call right after this. Sports Call brought to you by Always Money.
This segment of Sports Call is brought to you by Resource Natural Spring Water. Resource is 100% natural spring water with naturally occurring electrolytes that support a lifestyle of well-being. When you need to refresh, revitalize, and replenish, it's always Resource Natural Spring Water.
I could never see the cosmic sea.
Welcome back, everyone. Andy and Randy here with you, taking you home to 6 o'clock. One final segment here on the Tuesday edition of Sports Call. Give us a call at 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll-free or locally at 334-887-3401. Still time to get that final prediction in. We're going to be taking them for the rest of the week. Auburn versus San Jose State. Tiebreaker, Rock Thomas rushing yards. A lot of questions of the day out there. I didn't even remember what the order was, but if you got any questions, any comments at all, you can give us a call.
I wanted to bring up, we appreciate Jason Caldwell from Inside the Auburn Tigers being on with us. He'll be on with us in the first hour each and every Tuesday moving forward, and appreciate all that he does for not only us but for Auburn football as a whole to keep us updated with news and stories that are going on. But Bruce Pearl's putting on a show. I know that we haven't played yet, but recruiting and marketing and publicity that's going to Auburn's basketball program, it's as high as it's ever been in my lifetime.
There's no question about it. It was announced over the weekend, by the way, that Alex Thompson and Ronald Delph are taking a leave of absence from the team, whatever that means. But that we were questioning about with Trayvon Martin coming in, Trayvon Reed coming in. What would that, how was our numbers going to work out? That was talked about. I saw that on the ticker when I was watching the football this weekend. I'm sure a lot of other people saw it as well. Our numbers are going to work out okay. I'm not sure how that situation will end up working itself out, but, Bruce Pearl is just he's having to reframe and really restructure Auburn's team to be able to compete on a national level. And he's, sometimes tough decisions have to be made. And you've seen some guys transfer out. You've seen now this, 2 guys taking a leave of absence. You look at this recruiting class right now, still rated number 5 in the country. Let me say that again, Randy. Auburn basketball class rated number 5 in the country. We're talking about Daniel Purifoy, Horace Spencer, T.J. Dunnins, and Trayvon Reed, the 7-footer that was a Maryland commit, expected to come in December if he takes care of everything that he needs to do and could play for Auburn this January.
New Williams, a 4-star shooting guard from Santa Monica, California, verbally committed to the Tigers on Sunday, a 6'2", 176-pound prospect, rated the nation's number 43 shooting guard according to 24/7. To add that one, another 4-star. Look, what if we get up here and we say Auburn's not going to sign you unless you're 4-star and higher? You want to talk about something? I know that you brought this up a couple of weeks ago, things that you would never hear before.
That have never been spoken.
Things that have never been spoken. That is one that has never been spoken. Auburn will take nothing but 4-star basketball players moving forward. And he was out and about, I think, on campus this past weekend. I actually saw a picture of he and Brett Pritchard, our very own Brett Pritchard, his son, Braden. So he must have been everywhere. Of course, Brett will hunt you down and get a picture, and Braden will do that as well. But still, I mean, he's out there and he's accessible to the fans, and that means a lot to all of us.
Yeah, he's been accessible ever since he's been at Auburn. He has gone out, and gotten involved with the students. He's gotten involved. He's shaken every hand. He has done every interview possible. He did everything that he could do while he couldn't go out and recruit. Now he's able to go out and recruit, and you just all of a sudden it's just an avalanche of great-looking prospects that are signing with Auburn. And it's amazing. We talk about in what has taken place here and the guys that he's brought in. And, again, you say we haven't even played 1 minute of basketball yet, but how players across the country now are automatically and all of a sudden looking at Auburn as a destination place. All of a sudden, hey, the campus looks great. Hey, this arena is so nice. It's been this way for a while now. So what's the difference? The difference is Bruce Pearl.
888-9-TIGER-9, 334-887-3401. Appreciate all the phone calls out there today. We've had quite a few. 7 to 9 tonight, we'll have Sports Blitz Live. You can tune in over in the Auburn-Opelika market on our sister station, 95.9 Talk FM radio in that area, and we appreciate the Tiger Group for working with us on that. We'll have plenty to talk about. We'll talk high school sports as well as college. Quickly before we exit this program, Opelika takes down Auburn for the first time in, 7 years.
Is that right?
I think the first time they've beaten them in the playoffs, but I think the first regular season victory for Opelika versus Auburn this past Friday night. And Opelika, to start the season, pick up a victory against a strong 6A power in Carver of Montgomery, and then take down Auburn. Auburn off to an 0-2 start. I meant to look that up to see when the last time Auburn High School started off 0-2. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I can't remember when. We had D-Mark Mitchell on the show Friday to talk about that game and that rivalry, and really a very enjoyable time talking with him, getting his perspective on it, the voice of the Opelika Bulldogs. He said that, it would be a physical game, and the key for, Opelika was to go out, to get off to a good start, and to be able to, be able to handle, the emotion and everything that goes into that game, especially it being in there in Duck Sanford, and apparently they did that.
We mentioned it briefly, but I want to close out the program. Kicking game may have been a question mark coming into the season for Auburn, but Daniel Carlson, he exited any questions that we had with that first booming punt, and then overall kickoffs were outstanding. We knew that has been a strength with Cody Parkey back there. for the Auburn Tigers for multiple years now. And even before that, Auburn on kickoffs, seems like we always have someone to kick it 8 or 10 yards in the back of the end zone. Daniel Carlson, he's going to be a special one, I think. He was SEC Freshman of the Week.
He was. And if you're going to miss one, you're opening your initial kick in Auburn history, put it off the upright. Make it a memorable one. He'll remember that for quite a while, and so will I. But you're exactly right. He was he's going to be a weapon. There's no doubt about it. That's going to do it for us today. For Randy Lee, I am Andy Graham saying so long for now. We'll talk again soon. Thanks, Scott. Randy away from the phone.